Santi, and today here to bring you a review from Secrets, a game from Bruno Faidutti and Eric Lang. It's a social deduction game based on the Cold War. Let's take a look at it so you can see how it works. In Secrets, depending on how many players are playing the game, you will make a different setup. Let's say this is a 6-player game, so we will have 3 agents for the communists and 3 agents for the USA and 1 hippie. So at the beginning of the game, you shuffle this and you give 1 identity token to each player. And then you leave 1 in the middle of the table. So you now can see your own token, and you can see the token from the player to your right. So you have some starting information of the game. How does the game goes? The game goes like this. At the beginning of each turn, there will be a starting player. Let's say that's me. And that player will take 2 cards from this character cards. These cards have different characters here, which have some points and have a different ability. So you will have to choose one of these, let's say the politician, without saying to the other players. But you will have to point which cards you would get. So people have some idea what you may offer them. Why? Because now you're not keeping this card. You're offering that card to another player. Let's say that one. Then that player has a choice to choose to play it, or he can refuse in order to give it back to you, and now you get to play it. Once that happens, you apply the ability you got, and the next turn goes. So next player gets 2 cards from that deck, and he shows which one they got, this and this, and they offer 1 to another player, and so on, until 1 player has 5 cards. Once that happens, the game finishes immediately, and the side USA, or the communists, the side that has the most points between all the players that belong to that team are the winner, except if one of the hippies, except if one of the hippies is the player that individually has them less points. So let's say that player got -2 points and all the other players had 1 point, then the hippies would win. But if the hippie had 2 points and all the other players had 2 points, then the team with the most points would win. Let me tell you how these characters work. We have 8 different characters here that may let you do some special abilities and give you some points. For example, the double agent allows you to exchange your identity token with the one in the middle of the table and get what you received. And then we have the politician. The politician is a special one because when you play it, you don't get to keep this card. That you instead give it to another player. So let's say I give it to that player. He collects 3 points, but I get to see his identity token. Then we have the journalist. The journalist gives you 3 points, but you have to show your token to all the other players except for yourself. Then you have the scientist. The scientist is a good card because it gives you 5 points, but if you ever get a second scientist, you will turn all the characters you've collected during the game upside down and they will count as 0. Then we have the diplomat, which gives you 1 point and does this ability. You show the token that is in the middle of the table to all the players, including yourself. Once that happens, all the players except yourself close their eyes, and you now can change this token with one of the players at your side. So I can change it either here or there. Then we have the assassin. The assassin gives you 0 points, but you get to pick 1 bullet card and see how many points will this take from the player you give it to. So this gives you -2 points to the player you give it to, so you can give it to that player because he's not from your team or whatever. This card also counts as 1 character card for finishing the game. Then we have the psychiatrist, which withdraws 1 point from your point count and lets you exchange 2 identity tokens from 2 different players, not including yourself. And finally, we have the detective, which has a -2 point value, but it allows you to see any token in the table, yourself, the one in the middle, or one from any other player. Finally, there's one important thing here. This is the United Nations token. Once a player is a player that has the less character cards in the table, let's say every person has one character card in the table, except for that person, well, he gets the United Nations token, and this allows him to ask for any card in a given moment. Let's say this is my turn, so I choose the diplomat, and while I'm offering this card to this player, he can decide to say, hey, I play the United Nations token, so I get to play this card. So he uses it, and he gets those points. So as I said, the team which has more points at the end of the game, except if there's a hippie that has less points individually, is the winner. Well, the third thing I like the most about Secrets is this in exchanging characters or roles during the game. And that's something that I haven't really seen in a lot of social deduction games. Normally, when you have your character or your role, and you're doing your role during the complete game and trying to deceive people and make them think that you're not what you really are, or trying to give some clues, but not all of them. But in this game, you're like changing your character. So maybe you're a commie at the beginning of the game, but then you change into a hippie, or then you change into an American, and then you're back again a commie. So that's something I really like and really enjoy about this game. It's not like an static puzzle. It's changing all the time. So it makes you have to really look at that, and it's nice that you can change. I don't know, I think it's a really cool mechanic in the game that makes it a little bit more, I don't know, more interesting. And this brings us to the second thing I like the most about this game, that in this game you're not trying to be the team that win, but you're trying to be on the team that wins. It's something I haven't really seen in a lot of games, in social deduction games, but one thing I like about this game is that you can go into the deduction game, right? It will definitely help you knowing which person is in each team, but you can not give that much attention to that and just gather a bunch of points and say, hey people, you want me in your team? Because that's going to be really useful. If you have 10 points, people will probably want you in their team, unless you're a hippie and they know that. But I don't know, it's something I find really cool, that aspect of being able to say, you see, I got a lot of points, I can be in your team. So that's something really cool, and I think that fits a lot with the theme. But the thing I like the most about this game are the components, because when I saw them, these thick plastic identity tokens, it was like, why haven't Werewolf and the Resistance and all these games done this? Because this assures you that there will be no flipping cards, there will be no accidents like normally happen. Well, not normally, but it sometimes happens that someone flips the card and, oh, we all know his identity, so we have to start over. This is excellent. This is good. This is really neat. It's, I don't know, I just have one word, excellent. And I think that every social deduction game should use this kind of components because they're just great. So that's the thing I like the most about Secrets, so let's go to see my ratings. Well, for the theme, I'm going to give Secrets a 7. I'm going to give it a 7 because it looks like it could be any theme at all, but the Cold War makes a really good theme for me because of that thing I have commented before about you can be changing sides. You're a spy for the USA now you're changing for Russia, now you become a hippie. Why? Because of interests. I don't know. I think it's like a cool theme for this mechanics. I think it applies really well. Like you're changing sides. You actually, what you want is your own benefit. You don't matter who you're working for. So that's something I really like. I really think when I'm playing, I really have this sensation of changing sides and the other players being in one team, but not for so long. So that's something I really like. I think it's for being a spy game, it's really a cool theme for it, and the art helps a lot. About the mechanics, for the mechanics I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6 because although this is a game I really enjoy and I have a lot of fun playing with it, and I think that this mechanic in which I give you the card and you choose not knowing which card it is but having a high probability of knowing which one it is, you decide if I play it, if you play it, I think that's a really cool mechanic, but here's a problem. I think this changing roles mechanic although I really like it, it makes the game sometimes a little bit complex for some people. It can give you a feeling like tension trying to solve the puzzle, and as it's hard to solve it, when you're almost there, it really gives you a really exciting feeling. But maybe some people don't get so involved in the game because they're just like, I'm not doing the effort to trying to solve this crazy puzzle because roles are changing all the time, tokens are moving from here to there. So I can understand that depending on which cards that are played during the game might become a little bit too confusing and a little bit too puzzly for some people. So that's the reason I'm going to give it a 6 for the mechanics. So let's go and take a look to the art and the components. Well, for the art and the components, I'm going to give Secrets a 10 out of 10 because, boy, this is a very, very, very well-produced game. Let's start with the box. The box is really good. It's a size I really like. I like the form and the shape of this box, and it's quite thick cardboard. It has this drawing here, which is amazing, and it's a quite nice box because everything fits correctly. You don't have more space than needed, so that's just excellent. Then we have the cards, which are okay because I like the size, the shape of the cards. They have this cool drawing here, and then we have the points and the abilities they allow you to do. I think these are quite well, and the artwork is just amazing. I really like it. I like the style, like this comic pop style. I think the artwork in this game is just amazing. I mean, look at this drawing. Come on. It's just excellent. Then we have the identity tokens, which I find amazing. This is thick plastic with bright colors, with clear symbols. I mean, why haven't they done this before for social deduction games? Come on, Werewolf Resistance, you really need this. These are just amazing. They're very chunky, good plastic pieces. I really enjoy this. It's very easy to use, to handle with it. It's just amazing, brilliant. Then we have this thing here, which is kind of thin, and that's a little bit of a meh for me because I would have liked it to be like a little bit more thicker cardboard because this is really useful because especially in your first game with different people, they always ask you, oh, what is this? What does that character do? And with this symbols that are really clear, it's really good. It's a really useful thing in the game, and the quality, I think it's the poorest component from this game. Then we have these arrows here that are just okay for porting those characters. We have the United Nations token, which I find just phenomenal. It's really nice. And then we have the bullet cards, which are okay. The artwork is fine. It's all of the art in this game is just like that pop comic 80s style. So it's just great for the Cold War. I think the components of this game are just astounding. It's just a 10 out of 10 for me. More games should be produced like this. So let's go to my final rating. So my final rating for Secrets is going to be a 7. It's going to be a 7 because although it's a really easy social deduction game to teach to people, and that's something I really appreciate, especially in this genre, I think that it can be a little bit too puzzly for some people and too random sometimes. I really enjoy it. I like it a lot. I have a lot of fun with this game, but I have to know who am I playing with, because it might be a little bit too crazy for some people. So that's my final rating, a 7. I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope it's been useful, and I hope to see you again here in the Dice Tower.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.